This is A News. I'm Bakhtiar Sanova, and let's begin with the top headlines making news around the world. Venezuela struggles after twin earthquakes kill more than 1,400 people as rescuers race to find survivors and international aid continues to arrive. Iran and Iraq call for dialogue as Middle East security concerns persist. And US-Europe trade tensions rise as digital tax dispute deepens. The humanitarian response is intensifying in Venezuela as rescuers continue working around the clock following this week's devastating earthquakes. Here is the latest.
The death toll in Venezuela has risen to more than 1,400 after twin earthquakes struck the country on Wednesday. More than 3,100 families have been affected by the powerful 7.2 and 7.5 magnitude quakes, which hit within seconds of each other. In the latest government update, National Assembly President Jorge Rodriguez said the country has also recorded 430 light to moderate aftershocks. Tens of thousands of emergency workers continue search and rescue operations as families wait for news of loved ones trapped beneath collapsed buildings. In the coastal town of Carabaleda, relatives of the missing have appealed for more heavy machinery, saying rescue teams are struggling to move huge amounts of rubble by hand. Officials say 7.2 million kilograms of food have been distributed to affected communities, mainly in the hardest hit state of La Guaira. Hospitals have treated more than 5,000 patients, while overall medical assistance has exceeded 12,000 cases. Authorities also say 60% of electricity has been restored in La Guaira, water supplies are improving in some areas, and more than 100 heavy machines have been deployed to clear roads and support rescue efforts. International assistance continues to arrive with more than 2,200 rescue personnel, 96 search and rescue dogs, 103 tons of equipment, and 3 tons of medical supplies reaching Venezuela. Teams from Turkey, Argentina, Germany, El Salvador, and several other countries have joined the response, while U.S. helicopters are helping transport rescue crews. Meanwhile, Simón Bolívar International Airport near Caracas has partially reopened to allow humanitarian aid flights into the country.
Tensions in the Middle East have entered another dangerous phase as the United States and Iran exchange strikes. The future of the ceasefire agreement is increasingly in doubt, with the conflict now directly affecting the Gulf states as well.
Tensions between the United States and Iran have escalated again. After a drone attack on a commercial vessel in the Strait of Hormuz, the US military struck Iranian missile and drone storage sites, as well as coastal radar facilities. Washington said the strikes were a response to Iran's alleged breach of the ceasefire. Tehran rejected the accusation and blamed the United States for violating the ceasefire. Iran's foreign ministry condemned the strikes and said it had carried out defensive attacks on US targets. Iranian officials said a projectile landed near the port of Sirik, while the Iranian Navy targeted US military positions in the region. The conflict soon widened. Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps said it had launched joint missile and drone attacks on US military sites in Kuwait and Bahrain in response to the latest US strikes. The IRGC accused Washington of violating the Islamabad Memorandum of Understanding, warned that diplomatic talks would stop, and said US bases in the region would experience hell in the coming days.
As we predicted from the outset and continue to do so, the enemy is deceptive, untrustworthy, and prone to breaking its commitments. At any stage of the negotiations, it may engage in provocative actions. What matters is that whatever action the enemy takes, we have responded, and we will continue to respond. We have repeatedly said that if the enemy once again breaks its commitments or violates the ceasefire, our response will be stronger than before. We stress once again that it will be stronger.
Washington continues to blame Tehran for the latest violence. President Donald Trump held Iran responsible for the attack on the commercial vessel, while Vice President J.D. Vance said the United States had honoured the ceasefire and warned that violence will be met with violence. Meanwhile, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio and the Gulf Cooperation Council called for free and unrestricted navigation through the Strait of Hormuz. Iran insisted that the waterway should be jointly administered by Iran and Oman. Bahrain also condemned what it described as a new Iranian missile and drone attack on its territory. The kingdom accused Tehran of violating both UN Security Council Resolution 2817/2026 and the Islamabad Memorandum of Understanding, and called on the UN Security Council to hold an emergency meeting. Bahrain also said the attack threatened the security of the entire Gulf Cooperation Council and reaffirmed its right to defend its sovereignty under international law.
Diplomatic efforts to ease tensions in the Middle East continue, but security concerns remain across the region. Iranian and Iraqi officials have discussed the situation in the Strait of Hormuz and the latest developments, while calling for dialogue to prevent further escalation.
As tensions continue across the Middle East, senior Iranian and Iraqi officials have met in Baghdad to discuss the latest developments in the region. Their talks focused on the situation in the Strait of Hormuz, ongoing contacts with the United States, and the wider regional security outlook. Speaking at a joint press conference, Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi said responsibility for restoring maritime traffic in the Strait of Hormuz to pre-war levels lies entirely with Tehran.
With the new approach that has emerged, the security architecture of the Gulf region must be reconsidered by all regional countries. We need to arrive at a new framework that includes all countries in the region and excludes the presence or interference of any extra-regional power. In this regard, we welcome Foreign Minister Fuad Hussein's proposal to establish talks among the Gulf Cooperation Council countries, Iran and Iraq, what he described as the 6+2 format, and we are ready to cooperate with the Iraqi government on this initiative.
Iraq also stressed the need to reduce tensions and preserve the understandings reached between Tehran and Washington. Foreign Minister Fuad Hussein said reopening the Strait of Hormuz and restoring maritime traffic remain key priorities. He also made clear that Baghdad does not support any expansion of the conflict across the Gulf.
As for our relations with the Gulf countries, we do not support expanding the scale of the war, and we did not support expanding the scale of the war, and we also did not support the attacks on Iran.
The meeting comes as the ceasefire between the United States and Iran remains under increasing pressure. While both Tehran and Baghdad continue to call for dialogue, renewed military exchanges have raised fresh concerns about stability and maritime security across the Gulf.
Now to some more news from Baghdad. Iraq's new government has begun taking its first major steps in its fight against corruption. The latest operation has drawn widespread attention and once again brought the issue of transparency and accountability in public institutions into focus.
Iraq has launched a new anti-corruption operation. Acting on the orders of Prime Minister Ali al-Zaidi, security forces detained politicians, members of parliament and senior government officials.
We support the Iraqi Prime Minister in this decision to fight the corrupt. But what we're saying is, did he remember now? It's been 23 years. Corruption eroded the state in an abnormal way, eroded all departments and institutions.
According to reports, officers from the Counter-Terrorism Service, CTS, carried out raids at several locations inside Baghdad's Green Zone and made a number of arrests. No official statement has yet been released.
Today, all the people feel comfortable. Today, when people see the corrupt being held accountable, they no longer want anything from the government. When I see you holding the corrupt accountable, I feel my rights are guaranteed.
This should have been done long ago, but we currently support it. As you see, this is a commercial area. There is no business left, I swear. they left us nothing. The money that they stole must be returned to the country and to the state budget.
Prime Minister Ali Al-Zaidi, who took office in May, has pledged to take firm action against corruption. It remains one of Iraq's biggest challenges.
An Israeli drone strike has killed one person and wounded two others in southern Lebanon just 24 hours after both nations signed a U.S.-brokered peace framework in Washington. Lebanon's health ministry reports the strike targeted a junction in Nabatia al-Faqra, bringing the total death toll since March to over 4,200. Despite a new diplomatic agreement, Israeli Defense Minister Israel Katz stated that troops are preparing for an extended stay in the southern security zone and will not withdraw until Hezbollah is disarmed. Israel troops moved further into the western part of Syria's Daraa province on Sunday, with military vehicles entering the area and new positions being established, according to local sources. Another military site is also being set up near the village of Abdin. The latest deployment comes as Israel continues regular air raids and ground operations, particularly in the southern provinces, since the removal of Bashar al-Assad from power in late 2024. Russia and Ukraine have entered another dangerous phase of cross-border warfare, with missiles, drones and long-range strikes pushing the conflict deeper beyond the front lines. Civilians have been hit, military sites are burning, and both sides are trying to show they can still escalate.
Renewed aerial warfare between Russia and Ukraine has hit strategic sites and civilian hubs across both borders. Overnight, a Russian ballistic missile strike hit Kiev, wounding at least 2 people and sparking fires in the capital. At the same time, guided bombs and drones targeted Ukraine's northern and eastern sectors, killing civilians in Sumy and the Dnipropetrovsk region. Reports also indicate Russian ground forces have entered a new frontline village. On Sunday, a Russian-guided aerial bomb strike directly hit the city of Zaporizhzhia, killing 1 person, injuring 14 others, and leaving residents trapped beneath the rubble of destroyed homes. In the south, Moscow claims a direct tactical hit, releasing drone footage of an attack that destroyed 2 Ukrainian MiG-29 fighter jets at a regional airbase. But Ukrainian forces are hitting back long range. President Volodymyr Zelensky confirmed that new Flamingo missiles struck an artillery production complex in Volgograd. Further southwest, a major Ukrainian drone operations sparked fires at an oil refinery in Krasnodar, while secondary strikes left casualties in the border regions of Bryansk and Belgorod. Russia claims its air defenses intercepted over 120 drones within 24 hours as the cross-border air offensive continues to widen.
Ukraine is establishing a new state honor to recognize those defending the continent and supporting its Western integration. Presenting the Order of Europe, President Volodymyr Zelensky confirmed that membership talks with the bloc are actively advancing.
Ukraine has already come a long way toward the European Union, and much has been built on this foundation. Negotiations on our membership have already begun. Clusters are already being opened, and every such step brings us closer together. Ukraine and the European Union, Ukrainians and all of Europe. Behind every such success of the state stand our citizens, our warriors, and our like-minded partners from other countries. Ukraine will honor all such individuals with a new state award. It is the Order of Europe, a symbol of the effectiveness of our shared defense of Europe.
Russia's ruling political faction, United Russia, has gathered for its national conference ahead of the parliamentary elections scheduled for September. President Vladimir Putin addressed the delegates to rally support for the party he previously led as the official campaign season begins. Taking the podium, the Russian leader shared his assessment of the country's current standing.
The Conference of United Russia, our leading political party, is held at a difficult, one can say, even fate-deciding time for the country, at a period of fundamental, systemic transformation of the entire world. We are going through a difficult period, difficult stage, but it has taught us a lot. It allowed us to feel the very essence of what it means to be a citizen of Russia.
Slovakia says it will not join new NATO military funding for Ukraine as allies prepare for next month's summit in Ankara. Prime Minister Robert Fico says Bratislava will not pay for Ukraine's military expenses, even as other NATO members push for more support. Bratislava is drawing a clear line ahead of the NATO summit in Ankara. Prime Minister Robert Fico says Slovakia's delegation will not be given a mandate to join any new military loans or financial contributions for Ukraine. He says Slovakia will not pay for what he describes as Ukraine's military expenses, although he acknowledged other allies may continue raising funds. The position is consistent with his government's policies since taking office in 2023, when it halted state military aid to Kiev. Commercial arms sales from Slovakia to Ukraine are still allowed, but official military support remains off the table. Trade tensions between the United States and Europe are escalating once again, raising the prospect of a deeper economic standoff between long-standing allies. The latest dispute centers on digital taxation policies and the potential for sweeping retaliatory measures.
The European Union has vowed to firmly defend its rights after U.S. President Donald Trump threatened retaliatory tariffs against European countries, imposing digital services taxes on American companies. In a statement on Friday, an EU Commission spokesperson asserted that the EU and its member states retain sovereign authority to regulate economic activities within their jurisdiction. The spokesperson warned that any unilateral measures targeting the EU's legitimate policies would be met with swift and resolute responses to safeguard the bloc's rights and regulatory autonomy. Trump issued the threat in a social media post on Friday, declaring that any European country levying a digital services tax on U.S. firms would immediately face 100% tariffs on all exports to the United States. He further said that these tariffs would override existing trade agreements, whether implemented, signed, or not, and would take effect without delay if countries proceed with their tax plans. The digital services tax has emerged as a persistent flashpoint in transatlantic trade relations. In recent years, multiple European nations have pushed to tax the local revenues of major U.S. technology companies such as Google, Amazon, and Apple, a move that has drawn fierce opposition from Washington. Trump has repeatedly threatened tariff retaliation against France and Britain over the issue. French President Emmanuel Macron has publicly rejected the pressure, insisting that France will not bow to the U.S. threats and abandon its digital services tax on U.S. tech giants.
Istanbul will host the NATO Parliamentary Summit on June the 28th to 29th. The event will be hosted by the Speaker of the Grand National Assembly of Turkey, Numan Kurtulmuş. Speakers of Parliament and heads of parliamentary delegations from all 32 NATO member states are expected to attend. Participants will also include NATO Parliamentary Assembly President Marcos Perestrello, NATO Deputy Secretary General Radmila Shekernitska, and other senior officials. The meeting will focus on key NATO issues and aims to strengthen cooperation among allied countries. The main session will be held at Dolmabahce Palace on June the 29th. Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan is expected to meet the participants during the official luncheon and deliver an address. As part of the program, delegates will also visit the Baykar National Technology Center, where they will be briefed on the company's defense industry projects and technological developments. Anti-corruption protesters gathered across Metro Manila ahead of the impeachment trial of Philippine Vice President Sara Duterte. The demonstration, organized by interfaith groups including Catholic and Muslim leaders, demanded improved governance, electoral reform, and tougher action against corruption. Demonstrators also urged Duterte's removal from office before Senate proceedings begin on July the 8th. South Korea and Japan are moving to strengthen security cooperation as North Korea pushes ahead with its nuclear and missile programs. Defense ministers from both countries met in Seoul, reaffirming their goal of a denuclearized Korean peninsula and closer defense ties. South Korea and Japan have reaffirmed their commitment to the denuclearization of the Korean peninsula as both countries seek stronger coordination against North Korea. Defense ministers from the two sides met in Seoul and agreed to deepen security cooperation amid Pyongyang's continued missile tests and nuclear development. The The talks also included plans to revive joint search and rescue drills, increase defense exchanges, and strengthen cooperation with the United States. The meeting comes as Seoul and Tokyo continue efforts to repair historically strained ties, while responding to a worsening regional security environment shaped by North Korea's weapons program and wider Indo-Pacific military tensions. And Baku witnessed an epic fight night as UFC bouts ignited the city with unforgettable performances. Hometown favorite Rafael Fiziev secured a dominant victory in the headline fight against Manuel Torres. Narchechek Jahangirli reporting from the venue has the details.
What a brutal, merciless, unforgiving night of sweat and blood here in Baku. It took just 15 seconds of the second round of Azerbaijan's Rafael Ataman Fiziev to drop Mexico's Manuel El Loco Torres with a devastating knockout that decided the fight. Torres needed several minutes to regain consciousness as everyone rushed to help him. This fight delivered all the drama and the crowd erupted in celebration as Fiziev claimed victory. Shara, Shara echoed around the arena as fans shouted the name of Russia's Bulut Magomedov louder than the punches. In the co-main fight, the Pirate of the Caspian defeated Brazil's Michel Pereira by judges' decision using powerful high kicks, low kicks and his trademark spinning back fists. Some of the jaw-dropping performances came from Ukraine's Daniil Donchenko, who landed a spectacular head kick, sending Sweden's Theodor Berken stumbling backwards, and Turkey's Abdulrahman Yahyaev, who knocked out America's Ulyss Walker in the opening 8 seconds. I have to mention that overall the hometown favorites produced an outstanding performance as 3 of the 4 Azerbaijani fighters claimed victory. We also witnessed incredible support for Kazakhstan's and Uzbekistan's fighters, with fans from neighboring Central Asia shaking the venue with electric cheers. Tonight we felt the true spirit of the UFC and every second was worth it. This is all from us from an unforgettable fight night in Baku, but stay tuned because merciless battles will return to the Caspian Shore. I'm Narchechek Jahangirli together with Natik Mammadov reporting from UFC Fight Night in Baku for A News.
This concludes our news update for the hour. Thank you for your time and stay tuned to A News for more updates.